make a motion to, by unanimous consent, call up and hopefully confirm significant appointments in the Department of Defense. We are in the midst of a war in Europe right now. It's hard to imagine that, and yet it is the case. And every day we see atrocities committed by Vladimir Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, but every day we also see the concerted effort of the United States and NATO allies and other nations to provide dramatic support for the Ukrainian Defense Force and the Ukrainian people. We honor the Ukrainians' resolve and heroism, and we feel proud of the role that the United States and other nations are playing in providing defense, and I hope we'll take additional defense support up on the floor in the days to come. However, this is not easy work to do. One of the positions that I'm going to be seeking a UC on is the DoD Deputy Secretary for Sustainment, Christopher Loman, who is a Virginian. He and his family live in Fredericksburg. Mr. Loman is, according to the committee, completely non-controversial and very much desired in his position. He was born in Germany of a military family, grew up in Virginia, went to college in New Jersey, was a United States Marine beginning in 1984, and then after his active Marine service, entered the Army Civil Service as an Army Maintenance Management intern in 1989, and he's been with the Army ever since. His specialty is logistics, so this Deputy Secretary of Sustainment is kind of the peak logistics officer in the Pentagon. He previously was the acting principal deputy assistant director of the Army for acquisitions, logistics, and technology. Okay, that's a title that's, what does that actually mean? I'll tell you what it means. When the United States is trying to get historic amounts of military aid across a contested border from allied countries into a war zone, we need people who know logistics. It may not be the sexiest part of the military mission, but it is part of the mission that is absolutely critical, and it is part of the mission where the U.S. military is second to none in the world. And if you wonder why the Russian military's grand plans to topple Ukraine in just a couple of days came to naught, you first say it's Ukrainian heroism, and you second say it's the support of our allies, but third, you have to point out the Russian military has demonstrated that they haven't mastered logistics. The inability to maintain supply chains, the inability to do proper maintenance of tanks and other vehicles is one of the reasons that the Russians have not been able to accomplish their aims. And so what this war in Europe is demonstrating is militaries that have the capacity to do logistics and provide supplies to people on the front end of the fight are critical to success. So given the fact that the United States is the key to pulling together the international effort to provide support to the Ukrainian Defense Force, and given the fact that that mission depends upon having the best logistics in the world, why would we leave the chief logistics official at the Pentagon position vacant in the middle of a war when the United States is playing this heroic role? And so for that reason, Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to executive session to consider the following nominations in block calendar numbers 477, 599, 777, 779, 780, 781, 861, 886, that the Senate vote on the nominations in block without intervening action or debate. The motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, that any statements related to the nominations be printed in the record, that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and the Senate resume legislative session.
Is there objection?
Madam President.
The Senator from Missouri.
Madam President, reserving the right to object. I find myself here on the floor again. It's my friend, the Senator from Virginia, whose sincerity and urgency on this issue I don't doubt for a second, tries to move a whole slate of nominees to which multiple Republican senators have objections, and let me give you a sense of why. One of the nominees that my friend is attempting to move here, and let's be clear, to do this without a vote. We could be voting on these nominees. The majority leader could schedule votes on them anytime, but he hasn't done that. He hasn't done it in some of the cases for months. No, this is a request to suspend the regular order of the Senate and to confirm these nominees without a vote. Well, I, for one, am not going to consent to confirming without a vote people like Ravi Chaudhry. He's being nominated for Assistant Secretary of the Air Force. Mr. Chaudhry, who appeared before the Armed Services Committee on which I sit, as does my friend from Virginia, Mr. Chaudhry has proposed using AI technology, artificial intelligence, to track members of the military, identify them as extremists, and then have them expelled. He said, these are his words, the key to disrupting them, meaning extremists, his word, people whose views he doesn't agree with, the key to disrupting them is uncovering and understanding their initial behaviors. I'm still quoting, behaviors, elements that are contained in their electronic footprints. What Mr. Chaudhry has proposed to do is to use surveillance on members of the United States military to determine whether they might in the future commit acts that he might disapprove of, and then to take action against these members of the military. In 2015, he wrote this, that the military exhibits a culture of xenophobic cronyism, and he went on to say that there was a xenophobic command climate in the United States military today. I said to Mr. Chaudhry at the time when we had our hearing that I cannot believe that he would propose to use surveillance on members of the United States military to track their speech, to track their activity online, to track their movements online, all in an effort to decide if they might in the future commit acts that he disagrees with. I submit to you, Madam President, not only is that wrong, it is blatantly unconstitutional. Blatantly unconstitutional. And it is frightening. What is further frightening is that he would be nominated for a leadership position in the Department of Defense. I call on the President of the United States to withdraw this nomination today, just as he should withdraw his unconstitutional disinformation board that he is attempting to force on the American people as we speak. This is the most radically anti-free speech administration in American history. Their actions are an affront to the basic constitutional values of this nation, including and especially the First Amendment. I am appalled at what this administration is doing, censoring American citizens, surveilling them, and now advocating it in the United States military to the men and women who put their lives on the line. So no, I will not consent to have this individual, who never should have been nominated for this position, fast-tracked to be confirmed without a vote, without a single solitary vote on the floor of the United States Senate.
Madam President, will the senator yield for a question?
I think you have the floor, Senator, so yeah, I think.
Yeah, will the senator yield for a question?
Well,
It strikes me that the senator's objection is you do not want to have this candidate, the block of them, advanced without a vote. If I can guarantee that you get a vote on these nominations, will you drop your objection?
Can I respond to that?
Yeah. I mean, I know you'll vote no, you've made it plain, but if I can guarantee you would get a vote, will you drop your objection?
On all 8 of them, Senator?
Yeah.
If to have a vote on the floor?
Yes.
I would be happy to take a vote on the floor on all 8 nominees.
Well, and that's what my point is. We are not fast-tracking these without a vote. This is a motion to allow a vote en bloc on the floor. So you will have an opportunity to vote against Mr. Chaudhry or all of these. This is not a motion to immediately improve them without a vote. It's just a motion to bring them up so that you and others can vote on these nominees. That's all I am seeking. And so my request basically would guarantee you a vote on all of these nominations if you drop your objection.
Is this a recorded vote on the floor, Senator?
It would be, yes. It would be en bloc, but it is a recorded vote, is my understanding. And, Madam President, just to clarify, my motion is only that the Senate be allowed to vote on these nominees: Alex Wagner for Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, Ashish Zazrani for Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, Christopher Loman, Assistant Secretary of Defense, Lester Martinez-Lopez, Assistant Secretary of Defense, Agnes Schaefer, Assistant Secretary of the Army, Franklin Parker, Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Musetta Tia Johnson, Judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, and Ravi Chaudhry, Assistant Secretary of the Air Force. I understand my colleague will vote no, but all I am moving is for the Senate to be able to have a vote on these nominees.
On all 8 at one time. You don't want to vote on each one.
My motion is to consider them, yes, in block, but it would be a recorded vote, is my understanding.
Tucker, we What I propose to do here is, there are multiple senators on this side of the aisle besides myself who have objections to different multiple of these. What I propose to do is object to this now, but I think we can work something out on this going forward. So I think, do I have the floor now? Is it, can he?
The senator from Virginia has the floor. There's a pending unanimous consent request.
Okay, so I object.
Objection is heard.
I appreciate the objection being heard, and I would just say to my colleague, I hope we could work out a deal that would enable us to have a floor vote where my colleague could vote as he chooses on these nominees. This was not an attempt to bypass a vote. It was just an effort to have a vote where everybody could be recorded on the nominees, and I hope we can work that out.
Senator from Missouri.
Madam President, I want to continue to talk about some of the challenges the administration